Depending on when you're listening to this episode, another year is quickly approaching. If I'm honest, I absolutely love this time of year. There's something about a fresh start that gets me so inspired and motivated. What better fresh start than a new year? Granted, to be successful, we need to be motivated all the time. However, a new year is the best time to get the momentum flowing. In this episode, I'm walking you through the things you can do to financially prepare yourself for another year. I want you to make the most of the new year, and I know exactly how you can do so. Welcome to the City Girl Savings Podcast. I'm Rhea Reeves, founder and finance coach of City Girl Savings. I turned my life around with budgeting many years ago, and now I'm on a mission to help others do the same. I fully believe that you can enjoy your life on a budget, and this weekly show will focus on the intersection of money and the city girl lifestyle. Join me every week along with some special guests as I share my experiences, advice, and guidance on navigating life and money as an experience-loving millennial. First things first, I want you to do a deep dive of your current situation. Here's the thing, there is nothing like having clarity in your situation before moving in the direction of your goals. You don't want to stay in the same spot year over year, so you need to know where you currently stand before you can move forward. It's almost like we are taking a road trip without a map. We know we're moving in some direction, but are we really going in the right direction? Same thing applies with your finances. We have to know where we currently stand in order to move in the direction of our goals. Now, I will say in the coming episodes, I'm actually going to walk you through how to complete a year-end money review, but I still want you to kind of get the juices flowing when thinking of your current financial situation. So I'm going to walk you through a few questions you can ask yourself to get a better understanding. First, how much money came in? How much money went out? What were my goals? Did I put money into savings? How much? Did I pay off debt? How much? Now, let's talk about each of these questions in a little bit more detail. So how much money came in? Well, what was your salary for the year? How much came in? How much did you earn in income? Do you have a side hustle? And if so, how much came in through that avenue? We really want to understand how much money came in over the course of the year. And then that will help us when we ask ourselves the next question. How much money went out? How much did you spend? Were you constantly overspending? Were you using credit cards? Can you recognize any periods of time where the spending was much higher than usual? At the end of the day, we want to be able to say that more money came in than went out. So we need to be tracking our income and tracking our spending. The next question was, what were my money goals? So what goals did you set for yourself in the current year? And whatever goals they were, did you actually reach them or not? If you didn't reach them, why do you think that's the case? If you did reach them, what money goals will you be setting moving forward? The next question was, did I put money into savings? How much? This is a great question to ask because we want to know how much money we actually saved successfully in the year. Now, you may want to pull the thread through a little bit more and ask yourself if you actually pulled money out of savings. If so, why? Did an emergency come up and you actually needed the savings? Or were you overspending and so you pulled from savings to help make up for it? And finally, did I pay off debt and how much? Knowing what we've put towards our debt gives us a sense of hopefully satisfaction that we are actually making a dent in that debt and overall our debt payoff journey. Now, if you can't answer all of these questions specifically, that's something I would want you to focus on in the new year, getting a tighter rein on what's happening with your money. If you can answer, don't worry if things don't look how you want them to. At the end of the day, we just need to know what your finances look like currently, so again, you know how to move forward in the new year. Now, this activity may take some time, so don't be afraid to block out a few hours to ensure you get through it all. This is one of the best things you can do to prepare to make money moves in the new year. The next way to financially prepare for the new year is to set your money goals. What do you want to accomplish with your finances in the new year? Setting a financial goal gives you something to work towards. You are moving with intention in your finances. And trust me, that's a recipe for success. When you create goals, you take your dreams up a notch. You make them attainable in the form of a goal. Now, there are certain prerequisites for successful goals, though. They need to follow the SMART criteria. So they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time specific. So, when thinking about your goals, we also want to make sure you have certain priorities covered first. So, as much as a dream vacation is on the top of your priority list, if you don't have any form of savings or an emergency fund or anything like that, we may want to get certain things in place first. So, make sure that you do have an emergency fund or some kind of savings that would help you if something came up. And ideally, you would want this savings in a high yield savings account. If you don't know what a high yield savings account is, it is an account with a much higher interest rate that is offered at like a standard bank like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, etc. These types of accounts are usually offered at online banks, so Ally, Synchrony, Discover, and because they are offered by online banks, they can give more in interest to their customers because they don't have as much overhead as the brick and mortar banks do. So if you have an emergency fund or if you don't, you'll want to make sure it's in a high yield savings account. Are you tired of wondering which moves to make next with your money? Do you need some guidance on whether to pay off debt, save, or focus on something else? Get my free Money Moves packet today and start making impactful money moves instantly. Go to citygirlsavings.com/moves to download your Money Moves packet now. Another priority you want to make sure you have covered first is a plan to pay off your debt. Now, notice I didn't say debt-free, right? If you have a lot of debt or if you don't have much money every month to contribute to your debt, it could take some time. So I don't want you to feel like you can't set other goals if you have debt. You do need a plan to pay off your debt, even if it's slowly but surely. And then finally, you want to make sure you have some sort of retirement contribution in place. I've already talked about why you need to start saving for retirement as early as possible. And so making sure that you have those retirement contributions set up is definitely a priority. Now, I know it may be fun to save for a new car or dream vacation first, but having these priorities covered will serve you so much more. I mean, at the end of the day, an emergency fund or any type of savings is critical because it covers you in case something happens. As I mentioned, a plan to pay off debt is so important because debt can be debilitating. So having a plan makes all the difference. Just listen to my episode about my debt-free story if you don't believe me. And then, like I said, retirement because it's a way to build true wealth. Now, at the end of the day, whatever goals you set, I always like to advise my clients to focus on one goal at a time, especially if things are already tight with their budget. When you focus on too many goals at once, you essentially spread your resources thin. That slows you reaching all of the goals. So instead, focus all of your resources towards one goal so you can achieve it faster and then move on to the next. Now, an exception to this rule is if you have a large monthly profit in your budget, you can get away with focusing on two financial goals at once. Trust me, this is a great place to be and a great place to work towards. You'll get into a rhythm with your goals, and you will know if you can afford to focus on more than one at a time. Moving right along, the next way to prepare yourself financially for the new year is to have all of your systems set up and ready to go. Hopefully I didn't lose you. Are you thinking, okay, Rhea, what systems are you talking about? Trust me, nothing crazy, okay? But systems like having your direct deposit set up, having your automatic savings transfer set up, getting any bill pay up and running if you want, opening up more accounts if needed. Like, for example, maybe you want a checking account for just bills and a checking account for your fund spending. Setting up your financial filing system. Make sure you listen to episode 21 to learn how to do that. A schedule for creating your budget, a schedule for tracking your spending. These are all examples of things you'll want to have in place before the new year comes, so you don't have to scramble. Plus, you know what your financial goals are, so you should know what you need to save or what transfer amounts to set up to help you reach them. Moving right along, one of the best ways to financially prepare for the new year is to start the new year with money in your account. In the past, the holidays would run me dry. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd spend too much money on gifts for other people, but more so myself. I would always have more debt than I planned to, and it made things much harder than they needed to be. Instead, I want you to move into the new year with money in your account and, if possible, not as much debt as you need to have. So when you do so, you're actually starting the year ahead, not from zero or behind. So how do you do that, you're wondering? Well, make sure you don't overdo it on the holiday shopping, and make sure you create a budget and stick to your spending limits. Sounds simple in theory. Obviously, it's much harder to implement, but moving into the new year with money in your account will give you a little bit of a fire to keep working towards your goals in the new year. And my final piece of advice for financially preparing for a new year is to get rid of any excess financial baggage. Do you have subscriptions you aren't using? Do you have certain bills you've been meaning to get rid of, but you haven't done so? Now is the time to let go of any unnecessary bills and expenses. When you end up doing your deep dive of your current financial situation, make sure you run through all of your recurring bills. That way you can keep an eye on things that shouldn't be there. Trust me, you'll feel so much lighter ridding yourself of useless expenses that are just taking your money. Another thing to be mindful of is annual or quarterly or semi-annual subscriptions or expenses. Anytime one of those types of expenses hits your account, make a list, add it to a list. We want to be able to keep track of those types of expenses so they don't catch us off guard. So make sure you keep an eye on those expenses that aren't happening monthly, but still happen. And don't be afraid to cancel anything. Just because it comes out quarterly or yearly doesn't mean you need it. Whether we like it or not, another year is coming, so we may as well make the most of our time and set ourselves up for success. I hope these tips help you think about ways to get your finances prepped and ready for the new year, and I am wishing you all the success in the world as you work towards your goals. Thank you so much for tuning in to City Girl Savings today. I hope you feel empowered and inspired to master your money as you make your way to your dream life. Make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know when a new episode comes out. I truly value your thoughts and feedback, so please leave a review and let me know how this podcast has impacted you. Can't wait to chat soon and make it a great day.